What would you do if someone kicked you in front of a room full of people, and nobody lifted a finger to help you? If you love stories about courage and standing up for what's right, please hit that like button, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Heartbound Stories. We want to know where you're watching from because we absolutely love hearing from you. Drop your location in the comments below. Now, let me tell you about a night that started like any other but ended up changing lives forever. Maya Rodriguez was tired. The kind of tired that settles deep into your bones after standing for 8 hours straight. Her feet ached inside her worn black shoes, the ones she had glued together 3 times because buying new ones meant less money for her daughter's school supplies. It was Thursday night at Riverside Restaurant, the fanciest place in the city. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling like frozen waterfalls. Soft piano music floated through the air. Rich people sat at tables covered with white cloth so clean it looked like fresh snow. Maya had worked at Riverside for 4 years. She knew every corner of that restaurant. She knew which tables wobbled slightly. She knew which customers tipped well and which ones barely left anything. She knew how to smile even when her heart felt heavy. Tonight, the restaurant was packed. Every table was full. Maya moved between them carefully, balancing plates and glasses like a circus performer. Her manager, Mr. Harrison, watched from the corner with his usual frown. He was the kind of man who cared more about money than people. At table 8 sat Victor Drake. Everyone in the city knew his name. He owned tall buildings downtown. His face appeared in newspapers. He drove cars that cost more than most people's houses. And tonight, he wore a suit that probably cost more than Maya made in 3 months. Victor was loud. He talked on his phone while Maya tried to take his order. He snapped his fingers at her like she was a dog. He barely looked at her face. Maya took a deep breath and kept her smile. She needed this job. Her daughter, Sophie, was only 8 years old. Sophie's dream was to become a doctor. Maya worked every shift she could get to save money for Sophie's future. The evening moved along. Maya delivered food, cleared plates, and refilled water glasses. Her section was busy, and she moved quickly between tables. That's when it happened. Maya was carrying a tray with 4 wine glasses. Red wine, expensive wine, the kind that costs more than her weekly groceries. She walked carefully past table 8, where Victor sat typing angrily on his phone. Victor pushed his chair back suddenly. He didn't look. He didn't check behind him. He just pushed. The chair slammed into Maya's leg. She stumbled. The tray tilted. Time seemed to slow down. Maya watched the wine glasses slide, tip, and fall. Red wine splashed across Victor's shoulder and down his expensive white shirt. Everything stopped. The piano music kept playing, but all conversation died. Forks froze in midair. Heads turned toward table 8. Maya's heart dropped into her stomach. "I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. Let me help you. You stupid woman." Victor exploded from his chair. His face turned red with rage. "Look what you did. Do you have any idea how much this shirt costs?" "Sir, I apologize. It was an accident. You pushed your chair. Are you blaming me?" Victor's voice got louder. People at other tables stared. "You clumsy fool. You shouldn't be working in a place like this." Maya's hands shook as she tried to grab napkins from a nearby table. "Please, sir, let me clean." Victor swatted her hand away. Hard. The napkins fell to the floor. "Get away from me," he shouted. Then he did something that made everyone in the restaurant gasp. He kicked her. Not hard enough to knock her down, but hard enough to make her stumble backward. Hard enough to hurt. Hard enough to show everyone that he thought she was worth less than dirt. "Please stop kicking me," Maya cried out, her voice breaking. She moved behind the counter, her arms coming up to protect her face. Tears filled her eyes, but she tried hard not to let them fall. "You incompetent idiot." Victor moved toward her, his finger pointing like a weapon. "This shirt cost $400. $400. That's more than you make in a week, I bet." The restaurant stayed frozen. 50 people watched. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke up. They just stared, like Maya's pain was a show put on for their entertainment. Mr. Harrison finally rushed over, but his face showed worry about the wrong thing. He wasn't worried about Maya. He was worried about Victor, the rich customer who spent lots of money at Riverside. "Mr. Drake, please, I'm sure we can resolve this," Mr. Harrison said in a smooth voice. He didn't even look at Maya. "We'll pay for the dry cleaning. We'll give you a free meal. Please, let's stay calm." Calm. Victor laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Your employee destroys my property, and you want me to stay calm? People like her shouldn't work in decent places. She should go back to wherever she came from." Maya felt the words like punches. Each one hurt worse than the kick. She wanted to disappear. She wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. But then something caught her eye. In the corner of the restaurant, at table 20, sat a man she had seen many times before. He came to Riverside twice a week, always alone. He drove an old pickup truck that rattled when it parked. He wore simple clothes, nothing fancy. He always ordered the same meal and left generous tips. His name was James Reed. At least, that's what he wrote on his credit card receipts. James had been watching the whole thing. But his face didn't show shock like the others. His eyes held something different. Something calm and calculating, like he was putting together pieces of a puzzle in his mind. Maya had always noticed that James watched everything. He studied how the restaurant worked. He observed how people treated each other. Sometimes she caught him looking at the staff with a strange expression, like he was taking notes in his head. Tonight, as Victor continued yelling and Mr. Harrison tried to calm him down with weak words and empty promises, James slowly put down his fork. He wiped his mouth with his napkin. He stood up. And something about the way he moved made the entire restaurant somehow feel different, like the air itself had changed. James walked toward table 8. Not fast, not slow. Just steady, like someone who knew exactly what he was doing. His footsteps were quiet, but somehow everyone heard them. Victor was still yelling at Maya when James arrived. "I should sue this whole place. I should make sure you never work anywhere again." "Excuse me," James said. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut through Victor's shouting like a knife through butter. Victor spun around. "Who are you? Mind your own business." "I think this is everyone's business," James replied calmly. "The whole restaurant just watched you kick a woman who apologized to you." "She ruined my shirt." Victor's face was still red with anger. "No," James said, and his voice stayed level and cool. "You pushed your chair into her without looking. I saw everything. You caused the accident, not her." Maya stared at James. Nobody had ever defended her like this. Nobody had ever stood up to an angry customer for her. Her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. "You don't know what you're talking about," Victor sneered. "Stay out of this, old man. Go back to your cheap meal." James smiled, but it wasn't a friendly smile. It was the kind of smile someone gives when they know something others don't. "I've been coming to this restaurant for 6 months, James said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I've watched how things work here. I've seen how the staff treats people. And I've seen how certain customers treat the staff." He looked around the restaurant. 50 faces looked back at him. "I've seen you here before, Mr. Drake," James continued. 3 weeks ago, you yelled at a busboy for not clearing your table fast enough. 2 months ago, you complained because your steak wasn't perfect, even though you ate the whole thing. You treat service workers like they're beneath you." Victor's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "How dare you? How dare I speak the truth?" James's eyes were steady. "Or how dare I stand up for someone who can't fight back without losing her job?" The restaurant was so quiet you could hear the ice melting in water glasses. Mr. Harrison stepped between them. "Gentlemen, please. Let's not make this worse. Mr. Drake is a valued customer." "A valued customer who just kicked your employee," James said, turning to the manager. "Are you really going to let that slide?" Mr. Harrison's face went pale. He looked at Victor, then at Maya, then back at James. Maya could see him doing math in his head. Victor spent a lot of money at Riverside. Maya was just a waitress. Easy math for a man like Mr. Harrison. Maya sometimes gets overwhelmed during busy shifts, Mr. Harrison said weakly. Perhaps she should take the rest of the night off. Maya's heart sank. That meant no tips for the rest of the shift. That meant less money for Sophie's school books. That's not fair, James said quietly, but there was steel in his voice now. And who exactly are you to decide what's fair? Victor demanded. You sit here in your cheap clothes eating cheap food. You're nobody. James looked at Victor for a long moment. Maya saw something flash in his eyes. A decision being made. You're right, James said slowly. I do wear cheap clothes. I do drive an old truck. I eat simple food. He paused. But I also own 7 restaurants in this city. The silence got even deeper, if that was possible. I also own 3 hotels. 2 office buildings downtown, and a chain of coffee shops you probably visit every morning. James's voice stayed calm, but every word landed like a stone in still water. Victor's confident expression started to crack. You're lying. James Reed, James said, pulling out his wallet. He handed a business card to Mr. Harrison, whose hands shook as he took it. Reed Hospitality Group. Maybe you've heard of it. Mr. Harrison's face went from pale to completely white. Reed Hospitality Group was one of the biggest restaurant companies in the state. Everyone in the business knew the name. I've been visiting restaurants I don't own, James continued, to see how they operate, to see how they treat their workers and customers. I was thinking about investing in Riverside. He looked around slowly. I was thinking about buying it, actually. Maya couldn't breathe. This simple man in faded jeans, the one who always left her $10 tips and said thank you, owned restaurants? Owned buildings? Was rich enough to buy Riverside? Victor looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. His mouth opened but no sound came out. But now, James said, his eyes moving from Victor to Mr. Harrison, I'm not so sure this is the kind of place I want to be associated with. A place where managers protect bullies and punish victims. Mr. Harrison found his voice. Mr. Reed, I assure you, this is highly unusual. We value all our employees. Do you? James asked. Because from where I'm standing, you were about to send Maya home without her tips to keep this man happy. He pointed at Victor. A man who just physically assaulted your employee in front of 50 witnesses. The words, physically assaulted, hung in the air like smoke. Several people pulled out their phones. Maya realized they were recording. This whole thing was being recorded. Victor realized it too. His face changed from angry to worried. Now wait a minute. I barely touched her. She's exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating, Maya said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She was shaking, but she kept talking. You kicked me because I spilled wine on your shirt after you pushed your chair into me. You called me stupid. You told me I don't belong in decent places. Her voice got stronger as she spoke. 4 years of swallowing her pride. 4 years of accepting disrespect because she needed the job. 4 years of watching people like Victor treat her like she was invisible. It all came pouring out. I work hard, Maya said, and now tears were streaming down her face, but she didn't hide them. I work so hard. I have a daughter who wants to be a doctor someday. I save every dollar I can. I smile even when people snap their fingers at me. I say thank you even when customers don't tip. And I don't deserve to be kicked. Nobody deserves that. The restaurant erupted in applause. Not everyone, but enough people that it sounded like thunder. Several women were crying. A man at table 12 stood up and clapped loudly. Victor looked around wildly. He was losing. For probably the first time in his life, he was on the wrong side of public opinion, and he knew it. This is ridiculous, he muttered, grabbing his jacket. I'm leaving. And I'm never coming back to this dump. Good, James said simply. And I hope you remember this night every time you think about treating someone poorly because you think they can't fight back. Victor stormed toward the door. But just before he left, he turned back. You'll regret this. All of you. I have lawyers. I have connections. And I have video, said a young woman at table 15, holding up her phone. From the moment you pushed your chair into her. All of it. And it's already uploading to social media. Victor's face went purple. He slammed through the door so hard the windows shook. After he left, the restaurant slowly came back to life. Conversations started again. But everyone kept looking at Maya and James. James turned to Maya with kind eyes. Are you okay? Maya nodded, wiping her tears. Thank you. Thank you so much. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did, James said gently. Nobody should be treated that way. Especially not someone who works as hard as you do. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat nervously. Mr. Reed, perhaps we could discuss this in my office. But James held up his hand. He wasn't done yet. And what he said next would change Maya's life forever. James looked at Mr. Harrison with eyes that had seen enough. Actually, I don't think we need to talk in your office. What I have to say, everyone here should hear. The restaurant went quiet again. People leaned forward in their seats. This night had already given them more drama than a movie. Now they were getting more. I've spent 6 months coming here, James said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. Not just to eat. I was studying this place. Watching how it runs. Watching how people treat each other. He turned to face all the customers. I own restaurants. I know what makes a good one. It's not fancy chandeliers or expensive wine. It's people. People who care. People who treat others with respect. Maya felt her legs shaking. She didn't know where this was going, but her heart was beating like a drum. Tonight, I saw something that made me sick, James continued. I saw a hard-working woman get kicked. I saw her boss care more about pleasing a bully than protecting his employee. And I saw 50 people sit and watch like it was entertainment. Some customers looked down at their plates. They felt ashamed now. They should have done something. They knew it. But I also saw something beautiful, James said, and now he looked at Maya. I saw courage. Maya, you could have stayed quiet. You could have accepted the abuse like you probably have 100 times before. But you spoke up. You told your truth. Maya's eyes filled with tears again, but these were different tears. Mr. Harrison, James said, turning to the manager. You're fired. Mr. Harrison's mouth fell open. You can't fire me. You don't own this restaurant. Not yet, James said calmly. But I will by Monday morning. I've been in talks with the owner for 2 months. He wants to retire. He just didn't know I was the buyer. James pulled out his phone. I'm calling him right now to speed things up. Mr. Harrison's face went from red to white to red again. This is insane. You can't do this because of one incident. One incident. James's voice got harder. I've watched you ignore complaints from staff. I've seen you let rude customers abuse your workers. I've heard you tell servers to smile more and complain less. This isn't one incident. This is who you are. Mr. Harrison looked around for support, but nobody met his eyes. Not even the other staff members. They had all suffered under him at some point. Clean out your office, James said. Tonight. Mr. Harrison stumbled backward, then turned and walked toward his office like a man in a bad dream. James turned back to Maya. She was still standing there, not believing what was happening. Maya, James said gently, can we talk for a minute? She nodded, not trusting her voice. James led her to table 20, his table, and they sat down. The other customers pretended to eat, but everyone was listening. I've watched you for 6 months, James said. You're always kind. Always patient. You remember what people like. You check on the elderly customers more often. You help the new servers when they're overwhelmed. You're exactly the kind of person I want running my restaurants. Maya's heart stopped. Running. I'm offering you a job, James said, and he smiled for real this time. Assistant manager at my flagship restaurant downtown. Better pay, better hours, health insurance, and a college scholarship fund for your daughter. Maya couldn't speak. Her mouth opened but no words came out. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her. But that's not all, James continued. He pulled out a folder from his bag. I've also set up a scholarship account for Sophie. Full ride to any college she wants. Medical school included if she still wants to be a doctor. Now Maya really couldn't breathe. Why? She whispered. Why would you do this for me? James's eyes got soft. 20 years ago, I was you. I worked at a restaurant. I got treated badly by customers who thought they were better than me. And one day, someone defended me. Someone gave me a chance. That person changed my life. He leaned forward. I built my company on one rule. Treat people right. Not just customers. Everyone. The dishwashers, the cleaning crew, the servers. Everyone matters. And when I see someone like you, someone who works hard and stays kind even when the world is cruel, I want to give them the same chance I got. Maya's tears were falling freely now. I don't know what to say. Say yes, James said simply. Yes, Maya whispered. Then louder. Yes. Yes, thank you. The restaurant erupted in applause again. This time everyone clapped. People were crying. The woman at table 15 was recording again, tears running down her face. One of the other servers, a young man named Carlos, stepped forward. Mr. Reed, can I ask you something? Of course, James said. Are you really buying Riverside? What's going to happen to the rest of us? James stood up and addressed everyone. I am buying this restaurant. And every single employee who wants to stay will have a job. But things are going to change. No more tolerating abuse from customers. No more making staff feel worthless. We're going to treat each other like family. The kitchen staff came out. The busboys. The dishwashers. Everyone gathered around. They had heard everything through the doors. I'm also raising everyone's wages, James said. And starting a profit-sharing program. When the restaurant does well, you do well. Because you're the ones making it work. The staff started cheering. Some hugged each other. Some cried. They had all worked under Mr. Harrison's cold rule for too long. Over the next hour, something magical happened. The customers stayed. They talked to the staff. They apologized for times they had been rude. They left huge tips. The woman with the phone, whose name was Jennifer, told Maya that the video already had 1 million views. You're going viral, Jennifer said. People are calling you a hero. Standing up to that bully. Speaking your truth. Maya couldn't believe it. She had just wanted to survive her shift. Now the whole world was watching. 3 days later, Maya brought Sophie to meet James at his downtown restaurant. Sophie wore her best dress, the blue one she saved for special occasions. She was nervous to meet the man who was going to help her become a doctor. Hello, Sophie, James said, kneeling down to her level. Your mom tells me you want to help people when you grow up. Sophie nodded shyly. I want to be a doctor. I want to make sick people feel better. That's a beautiful dream, James said. And I'm going to help you achieve it. But I want you to remember something important. What? Sophie asked. Your mom is already a hero. She works hard every day to take care of you. She stayed kind even when people were mean to her. That's real strength. And that's what's going to make you a great doctor someday. Because you learned from the best. Sophie looked at her mom with shining eyes. Maya pulled her daughter close, tears streaming down her face for the 100th time that week. As for Victor Drake, his story didn't end well. The video of him kicking Maya spread everywhere. His business partners saw it. His clients saw it. Within a week, people started canceling contracts. His reputation was destroyed by his own cruelty. He tried to apologize publicly, but it was too late. The internet doesn't forget. And neither did the city. Everywhere he went, people recognized him as that guy who kicked the waitress. 6 months later, Maya stood in her new office at Reed Hospitality Group headquarters. She wore a professional suit. Her daughter's college fund was growing. She had health insurance for the first time in years. And she managed 3 restaurants, treating every employee with the respect she never got at Riverside. The old Riverside restaurant had been transformed. It was now called Maya's Place, and it had a new rule posted by the door. We treat everyone with kindness here. Customers who cannot do the same will be asked to leave. On the wall hung a framed photo from that night 6 months ago. It showed James standing next to Maya, both of them smiling. Under it was a quote, "Courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the quiet voice at the end of the day saying, 'I will try again tomorrow.'" Maya kept that photo to remind herself that one moment of standing up can change everything. That speaking your truth matters. That kindness wins in the end. And every time a new employee started working at Maya's Place, she told them the story. Not to make herself look good, but to remind them that they mattered. That their dignity was worth fighting for. That someone would always stand up for them the way James stood up for her. The story of the waitress who got kicked and the millionaire who defended her became famous in the city. But the real story, the one that mattered most, was simpler than that. It was about a woman who refused to accept that she deserved abuse. It was about a man who remembered what it felt like to be powerless and chose to use his power to help others. It was about 50 people in a restaurant who learned that staying silent makes you part of the problem. And it was about a little girl named Sophie who learned from her mother that dignity, respect, and kindness are worth more than all the money in the world. Years later, when Sophie graduated from medical school, she gave a speech. She talked about her mother's courage. She talked about James's kindness. And she talked about how one terrible night became the beginning of something beautiful. "My mom taught me that you don't need power to be strong," Sophie said to the crowd. "You just need to believe that you deserve respect. And sometimes, when you stand up for yourself, the whole world stands up with you." In the audience, Maya held James's hand and cried tears of joy. Her daughter was going to be a doctor. Her life had changed completely. And it all started the night she said 5 simple words. "Please stop kicking me." Those words had echoed through a restaurant, then through the internet, then through the hearts of millions of people who had also been made to feel small. But Maya wasn't small. She never had been. She just needed someone to remind her. And now she spent every day reminding others. Because that's what heroes do. They lift others up. They stand up when it's hard. They choose kindness even when the world chooses cruelty. Maya Rodriguez was a hero. Not because of what happened to her, but because of what she did with it. She turned her pain into purpose. She turned her humiliation into hope. And she proved that sometimes the most powerful person in the room isn't the one with the most money or the loudest voice. It's the one with the most courage.